Welcome to Highfalutin Low Carb, the random web series where we find, test, and sometimes create the best low carb recipes this crazy internet has to offer. Today, we're tackling one of my childhood favorites, pigs in a blanket. Stay tuned. All right, guys, low carb pigs in a blanket. Pigs in a blanket was something I was fascinated with as a kid. And I got some things I want to talk to you about too that are very important, but I want to prove to you that I'm not joking here. You guys have seen me pull out the family cookbook that was created when I was a young kid, and it has all the family recipes from all your aunts and uncles and grandmas and grandpas so that you can recreate and relive all these things. It's a treasure for me. Each family member was, submitted their recipes that they wanted to include, and I insisted upon a pigs in a blanket recipe. I think my mother probably tried to get me to put any other recipe in there. Sure enough, this pigs in a blanket. I called them cheesy wiener crescents. I guess I thought I was trying to be fancy, but sure enough, and they misspelled my name too. In my own family cookbook, spelled it W-S-T-L-E-Y, doggone. But anyway, as a kid, this was my recipe: 8 hot dogs, 8 strips of cheddar cheese, and a can of refrigerator crescent rolls. The kind that you pop up and you got dough in there. You can say that I was, I hate that is what I'm known for now in this cookbook. Anyway, my nieces and nephews and cousins have teased me about those cheesy wiener crescents forever. So we're going to remake those today in a low carb version. I'm going to use some fathead dough recipe inspired by Low Carb Yum. I like their coconut fathead dough. So we're going to do that. If you're new here, we usually, test recipes. I make them, we test them, and determine who's got the best recipe of whatever it is we're making. But sometimes we do an original recipe or two, and that's what this is going to be. So this is low carb pigs in a blanket. But before we begin, I do have a couple of important things that I need to tell you. The first of those is Keto Connect has a podcast called Keto for Normies, very popular. Matt and Mega over at Keto Connect. And I recorded an episode with them several months ago, and it is going to be released this weekend. I believe it'll be this weekend, October 20th, Sunday, October 20th. So we spent 45 minutes or an hour just chatting about life, YouTube, low carb living, all kinds of things. So I would love for you to go listen and check out their podcast. They interview heavy hitters. I mean, I'm talking some of the biggest names in this whole keto low carb universe, and I don't know why they wanted to talk to me, but they did. So, and I am super thankful about it. I can't even remember what we discussed. It's been so long ago. But anyway, so head over to use your podcasting app on your phone or your computer, however you get your podcasts. Go over there. It's Keto for Normies, and it's the October 20th, 2019 episode. So I'll meet you over there. But I've got another important thing I want to tell you, but I'll wait while we start cooking. So let's get started on this, okay? We are starting first with the fathead dough. Again, I based this off of the coconut fathead dough by Low Carb Yum. I've added some things and changed a couple of things to suit this recipe, but I want to thank her for at least being the inspiration for this recipe of the dough. We are going to start with a half a cup of coconut flour, and if you're here enough, what I'm going to say. Sift, y'all. You got to sift this stuff. So this is a half a cup of coconut flour, or 60 grams. And to that, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder, not baking soda, baking powder. And you're basically combining all of your dry ingredients. This is a teaspoon of xanthan gum. It really helps this hold together. I think it's a vital ingredient in a lot of low carb baked goods. So a teaspoon of xanthan gum, and then a few various spices to sort of kick this up a notch. This is a half teaspoon of garlic powder, half teaspoon of onion powder, and a half teaspoon of Italian seasoning. And in all of that goes, and we are just going to sift all of this. It helps combine things, but it also, see, you got all that stuff in there. If you keep your nut flours in the freezer like I do, they can get clumpy. So we're just going to put this to the side over here and work on this. All right, so let's turn to the wet ingredients. This is 2.5 cups of shredded mozzarella cheese, and this is going to go in the microwave along with 2 ounces of cream cheese, right? I'll also leave in description below will be the full recipe, and I'll also include the weight measurement in grams. I've started doing that now. It's just as easy as measuring out, and it's a lot more accurate, to be honest. All right, so this goes in the microwave, these two ingredients in the microwave for 1 minute. I'm gonna stir it, back in the microwave for 1 more minute, stir it again, and I'll meet you right back here. Okay, so this has been in the microwave for 2 minutes. I stirred after 1 minute, and to this we're going to add melted butter. This is 2 tablespoons of melted butter. Everything just goes in the pool here. You've got 3 eggs that we're going to beat lightly. 3 beaten eggs. And our coconut flour mixture. This goes in as well. So now we've just got to get this combined and into a dough. So gently, it will make a mess, so just be careful. Don't sling it all over the kitchen. Sometimes it's easier with your hands, especially if you wet your hands a little bit. It can be easier. A lot of people do this with a dough hook in their KitchenAid mixer, stand mixer. However you want to do it, I find it's just as okay to do this. If it gets stiff on you like this, you may have to put it back in the microwave for 30 seconds or so to loosen it back up, which I may do, because I feel like it's a little stiff on me. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, and just make sure you're not going to burn yourself because it does get hot, but a wet hand sometimes is better at kneading this up. Ooh, it's a little warm because it did just come out of the microwave. Smells good. That onion powder and garlic powder and Italian seasoning really adds a lot to what is generally a benign dough. You know, you can make sweet goods, savory goods. If you use salted butter, it has a little more savory flavor to it than unsalted butter. I used unsalted butter in this because, to be quite honest, the hot dogs and sausages that we're going to be using are, you know, they can be pretty salty themselves. So, all right, once you've got this mixed together, we're just going to turn it out onto some parchment paper. Okay. Out this goes. Let me go wash my hands. I'll be right back. Okay, so we've got this turned. Get that out of the way. Put another piece of parchment paper on top of this, and now obviously we're just going to roll this out into a rough triangle because we're going to slice this up. I use a little wooden dowel, use a rolling pin, whatever you like, but you want to get it fairly thin. I'd say maybe, if I were guessing, 9 by 13, something about that size, maybe a little larger. So, I said I had 2 important things to tell you. The first is that, while I'm rolling this out, I'll chat. The first was that, go check me out on the Keto Connect, Keto for Normies podcast. Super duper honored to be even considered, much less get a chance to sit down and talk to those folks over there, because that's just really cool. The other thing is something that I have announced on my Patreon a little while back, and it's going to affect the channel some, and I don't exactly know how much it's going to affect the channel. I'm actually moving. You know, I live in the panhandle of Florida, and I am moving. My spouse accepted a job in another city, so it's a pretty big move to Indianapolis. So I don't know how that's going to affect the channel. I love my little test kitchen here, and when I say little, we are moving it. This is a sort of a temporary move. I don't want to go into too much detail. It's sort of a temporary move. So we are renting a small, very small, furnished apartment in the heart of the city. So I don't know how that's going to affect me filming and being able to do the recipe testing. Now, I'm still going to film somewhere. If I have to rent a commercial kitchen to film in, or an Airbnb kitchen, I'm not sure. I'm just not sure how that's going to go. But so just know, over the next month, it has been a challenging couple of months, and another probably a little bit of a challenge coming up for the next few months as well. So just be patient with me. I'm not going anywhere. I just things might look a little different behind me, all right? So if you see me with a different kitchen in the background, That's what's going on. Just relocated. All right. Now, let's get back to these pigs in a blanket. Okay, so this is easy. So once you've got this rolled out into something that looks kind of square, I probably could have done a little better job of squaring it up, but these are going to be pretty rustic looking anyway. Now, you're going to want to get 12 strips out of this. However, oddly, I'm using a combination of bun-length hot dogs and some smoked sausages. And, you know, you want to find something that's low carb and doesn't have a lot of sugar in it. But for some reason, the brand of bun-length hot dogs that I like and prefer, they only sell 5 in a package. So you've got 6 sausages and 5 of these. So I'm going to only make 11 strips is what I'm getting at here. If you've got 12 hot dogs, you'd make 12 strips out of this. So just using a pizza cutter, let's come in here and try to get 11 strips out of this. Now that wasn't terribly even, and you're just going to figure out a way to do this yourself. So all we're going to do is literally wrap these guys up and put them on a parchment lined baking sheet. I like the bun length, and if you can't get bun length, then a thicker, larger dog seems to perform a little better. So I'm just going to start here in the middle, and I like to leave a little bit of space if you can, so that you can sort of see the dogs. All right, so that's all we're going to do. I'm going to finish this up, and I'll meet you right back here. So once you've got all your little dogs and your pigs, I guess you could say, in their little blankets, the most important part of the recipe is you just take a beaten egg and a pastry brush and gently brush on a whole egg on each of these guys. And this just sort of gives you some crispy, crunchy top. Kind of makes it flaky looking and really browns nicely. So use this whole egg on all of these dogs here. Pigs. I keep calling them dogs. I guess technically they are pigs in little blankets. All right, so these have been brushed with a beaten egg, and in they go to a 400-degree oven for 12 to 15 minutes, or until they're nice and golden brown. You see, I wasn't so great at evenly dividing my dough up. You'll probably be a little bit better at that than I am, but hey, you can't take something called pigs in a blanket too seriously, right? So in these go. I'll meet you right back here. We'll test them, all right? All right, guys and gals, we are back, and look at those, how beautiful they are. Well, some of them are. These are nice. Those didn't wrap, so I didn't wrap those so well. Now, these have been cooling for about 10 minutes, and I think that I said put it in the oven for 12 to 15 minutes. A lie. That's a lie. 18 to 20 minutes is what I should have said. These here were exactly 20 minutes. So it'll just depend on your oven and that sort of thing. So let's just try one of these. Let's get a decent looking one to cut, and look at that. It looks pretty. I like their space when there's space between the. Let's get one of these that looks. That's the one with the hot dog, an all beef hot dog, and this is one with a smoked sausage that has cheese in it. So I really gilded the lily on that one. Get out of the way, and let's just cut one of these in half. Now, before we begin, before I taste these, let's talk about nutrition. Okay, what I'm going to give you here for nutrition is only for the dough. It's for one serving. This makes 12. So what I'm giving you is for one serving of the dough. You will need to add the macros and nutrition from whatever hot dog or smoked sausage you're going to use. There are so many variables there that it would just be unfair for me to give you a full accounting of that. I try to find something that's 2 grams of carbs or less. The Nathan's all beef franks are 2 net carbs. The Johnsonville chili cheese brats, they're 3 net carbs. That's a little high for me. So, but just remember, what I'm going to tell you is just for the dough. One of these is 138 calories, 9.8 grams of fat. You've got 8.5 grams of protein. You've got 3.8 grams of total carbs, 1.3 grams of fiber for a total of 2.5 net carbs. So for one of these with the Nathan's hot dog, that means it's a 4.5 net carbs for the hot dog and the dough, the bun, the blanket. Right? All right, so let's cut this half and see what this looks like. I mean, look at that. It's a pig in a blanket. They're hot. You can really see it smoking. Get away from my big fat head to cover me up. Looks great. All right, so. Takes me back to being a kid. It really does. I do think the garlic powder, onion powder, and Italian seasoning are an important part of making the savoriness of this. A lot of people, the first thing everybody's gonna say as soon as I put this up is, can I make this with almond flour? Yes, you can. The ratios are gonna be completely different. If you wanna make it out of almond flour because you think you don't like the coconut or you don't like the coconut, just look for an almond flour fathead dough recipe and do exactly what we did here. Add the spices to it and maybe the xanthan gum. But I prefer the coconut fathead dough these days. Almond's great, but when you add these spices and the savoriness to it, I can't taste the coconut at all, really at all. Let's try this one over here that's got the cheese in it. Oh my gosh. Y'all. That one, oh. You saw me bite it and it shot all the way over there. Whew. Okay, that one takes the cake with the cheese, melted cheese in there. Chili cheese of all things. If you can afford the macros of, that would be 5.5 net carbs for that, with that Johnsonville Brat in there. I would strongly suggest trying that one. That's great. So there you have it, folks. Pigs in a blanket. Or if you were a pretentious 10-year-old like me, cheesy wiener crescents. So I appreciate that you've come along for the journey. You know, I say that every time. These videos are a way for me to maintain my low-carb way of eating. And looking in the end of that camera as often as I can helps sort of keep me honest. So I appreciate you've come along for the journey. I have a favor to ask you, a very big favor. If you are on Instagram, go find me and follow my page. I'm just at Highfalutin Low Carb there. I think I've got like 8,500 subscribers, and I want to be able to share my recipes and the videos on Instagram, but to do so, to be able to include a link in my posts, I have to have at least 10,000 subscribers. So I just need like 1,500 more of you. So I beg you, please, if you use Instagram and you aren't following me yet, go over there and follow me. You'll see behind the scenes photos of a lot of the foods that I cook and, you know, a lot of the things that I just eat day to day. So it's interesting. Some people say it is. So please do that for me. Otherwise, check out my Patreon account. If you don't know what Patreon is, think of it as the tip jar for the internet. It lets people like you who enjoy what people like me are doing here on YouTube, and you can give $1 or $2 a month, and you get some benefits with that as well. Otherwise, you will see this kitchen probably a couple more times. I'm going to pre-film some things before the move, so to get me through the next month or so. But there's going to come a point where this is going to look a little different back here, so don't freak out. I'm not going anywhere, and in fact, I hope this move, I'm looking forward to the opportunity to maybe spend a lot more time on this channel. So I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Oh, I almost forgot. Don't forget to go listen to me on the Keto for Normies podcast by Keto Connect. Wherever you listen to your podcast, whether that's Apple Podcast or Stitcher, all those different apps and whatever, please go listen to it there. All right? It comes out October 20th, 2019. All right? Bye.